All right, so welcome everybody and to this very special presentation of Nibiru. I think it's really good timing. Zachary's done this presentation before, but this is supposed to be very close to the time of Nibiru. Let's see what happens. Zachary made up the schedule, the timetable, and he gave me a generous 30 minutes. I thought, oh gosh, I'll have to do a full presentation almost. So that's my presentation, and I've just gone through it and cut it in half because there's too much info there. So the topic that I'll be talking about is fear versus caution and when to act. We're advised that we teach what we learn. It's something that I need to learn as well, so that's why I'm presenting it. You could say. Now, when to act, that's a pretty tough question. Would everybody agree? Sometimes you don't know when to act and all that. So we're going to go through some information which might guide us to where we can get that information from. I've actually got, in reference to Planet X, I've actually got a couple of the books, Martial Masters.
I haven't seen those. I've heard of Martial Masters. I haven't seen the book.
Oh, right, okay. Well, what inspired me to get these is this is around 2012, and this crop circle, which appeared, is a planetary alignment based on 21st December 2012, which is a really interesting crop circle, isn't it? So I ordered these books, and of course I'd heard of Planet X before as well. Lots of information in there. A couple of items from here, for example, and this is relevant to what I'll be sharing. There's a section in here which is talking about intuition, trusting your intuition. We all have this inner voice, and we use many different names to define it, such as subconscious, spirit guide, Yahweh, and so forth. For the purpose of this discussion, let's call it good old-fashioned intuition, or gut instinct, if you will. There's a lot more to that. And out of this, just quickly out of this book, what did I mark down? There's a lot of debate whether Nibiru is real or not, but that's for Zachary to tell us about it. But it does seem to be part of ancient culture. According to these translations, a large body known to the ancients as Nibiru passes through the core of our solar system approximately every 3,600 years, with catastrophic results for the Earth. Interesting. Anyway, but a lot of the predictions that are in these books didn't happen. They were forecasting 2014, 2015, 2016, so who knows? Let's go back to the screen. Now, 2020 is just nearly over, and what a year. We've never had a year like this before, and it could be part of the great transformation that we've been advised about over a long period of time. And wow, I'll just go through a few of the things that we went through this year, and I'll just cycle through these. They're all randomly put together. Oh, that's more of a timetable, the schedule for tonight. This one's a little favourite. It's talking about human collectives. This is the Amish group, and this is how they, if you watch this video, it's quite amazing. This is how they move a shed, a huge shed. 100 Amish guys under there picked it up and shifted it 200 metres. I thought it was brilliant to watch. So anyway, We all know who this guy is. Now, I can't get rid of that window for some reason, but anyway, he's probably got a few strings into local councils, and he's probably got a few strings on him as well. But anyway, this little clip just came up the other day, and it could be relevant to what's coming up this evening. It's a movie called Shackled to Silence. Have you heard of that one?
No. I saw the clip.
You saw the clip? Yeah, okay.
And there is some relevance, yes.
Yeah,
it is quite relevant. I'd like to see the movie when it comes out.
Yeah, and when I took the screenshot, it happened to say infrared telescope coronavirus is the perfect cover for Planet X. How about that? Anyway, we'll see what that means later on. And that was only 2 days ago. I've shown this graph from the government websites several times this year, just as information about so-called COVID deaths. And when you look at this graph, you'll find that the distribution of COVID deaths are almost exclusively in old age. Almost zero below 60. This is in Australia. And the average age of the COVID deaths, according to the government information, is actually almost precisely the same as the life expectancy age. And that's got to be warning bells for us. Some of the things they're telling us are a little bit skew-with. And I also wondered about the US figures, and the other day I found information which was more or less equivalent to this, and so it appears to be a hoax worldwide. Anyway, that's another topic. Some of the YouTube videos we've got on our YouTube channel, you can look it up through magpiehouse.com.au. We've done a lot on constitutional and common law, and this is one of the very well-known figures in the law movement, and he's talking about jurisdiction. So that's on our YouTube channel. It's getting a few thousand hits. Really powerful stuff. That's a picture of a global report on coronavirus. There is no deadly pandemic. All data confirms it. Funny about that. And the aside to that is we'd recommend don't take the vaccine. But I think a lot of us are waking up to that anyway. If you can see that, it says, "No thanks, I trust my government." All right, move on. This is a fabulous presentation we did earlier this year in March with Ian Sleeth called The Colour of Law. The colour of law means it's not quite law. It's been colourised, it's been distorted in some ways. It's a 3-hour presentation. It's on our YouTube channel. And then only last week he did another presentation, and it gave me a bit of a surprise. He gave us a presentation on sacred geometry, an hour's worth. Yeah, so that's really interesting. And the week before he did a presentation on implied consent. Right, so these bits of legislation which are happening in the background we don't even know about, because we don't know about them, they pretend that we do know about them, and when we don't arc up about them, they're saying we've consented. That's what happens with implied consent. Anyway, that's also on our YouTube channel. This one comes from a few months ago, so-called Magpie alert, and also on our YouTube channel, but the message behind it, this is our most comprehensive message on the need for rural cooperatives producing food as offerings of love rather than for profit. an expression of joy, not fear. The artificially induced depression, based on fake science, media frenzy, could result in unimaginable food shortages. If you remember when the toilet paper disappeared off the shelves, well, that could happen with food as well. What we've done over the decades is move out of the country into big cities, and big cities are not meant to be, it's not the proper model for civilization, apparently. I can show you lots of information on that. We're supposed to be living in more like tribal communities where we're close to the earth. When we move into big cities, we become disconnected from the earth, and we have to depend on industrial agriculture. But the problem with that is industrial agriculture is destroying the topsoil. They turn it over and then they douse it with chemicals, and it's killing the topsoil. In my analysis, that's the reason for the lockdown, because they're saying we can't feed you all. And the simplest solution is depopulate. So there could be a causal situation there, and it's not necessary. Anyway, it's a whole other topic. That's our health exemption card we were handing out. We've got a vegan mask with a lettuce in the picture. This is a fabulous video that we publicised from 1991, talking about the New World Order and how there's political forces in Australia pushing us towards a socialist, communist, Marxist type regime. And that's multiplied around the world from what we can see now. I might put that on our website because it's so powerful. It's showing the reason why they're destroying businesses. It's kind of a green agenda behind it. You might have heard of Agenda 21, Agenda 30. Anyway, it's worth a watch. I've put 7 minutes on our YouTube channel and also a link to the full 77 minutes. And another presentation on our YouTube channel is New World Sovereignty. So instead of New World Order, there is a very powerful model based on New World Sovereignty. And it's actually, according to the information, it would be good for humanity. Right? It's a one world type government, but not based on the model that they're trying to put out to us right now. So that's on our YouTube channel as well. And this one as well. A hypnotherapist who used to work here, clinical hypnotherapist, Nino Borsari, with hypnotherapy messages beyond time and space. And it's literally that. He gets the messages through people in deep hypnosis. Some very powerful stuff there. Another one that I've done, Beyond the Straw Man. Have you heard of the Straw Man? Yeah, the Straw Man is the artificial entity created from your birth certificate, right? And we're not the artificial entity. But we're also not the body. We're the spirit behind the body, and that's where this presentation goes. It's beyond the straw man. That's our statement on the mainstream media. See no truth, speak no truth, hear no truth, and what goes together with that is if you see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, then you're not going to be able to fix the issues. Right? The problems we've got in the world today, we need to be very aware of where they're coming from. You can't bury your head in the sand. So I'll chuck that in. And I like this one too, the importance of smaller steps. Don't assume you can skip a few rungs on the ladder. You need to take little steps on the way up through the path of enlightenment, mastery, or whatever you want to call it. Take your time, there's no rush. Anyway, Another presentation, which is online, go within or else we'll go without. And that's the yoga school that we run here. A lot of the classes are still on Zoom, and they'll continue on Zoom, and they're also in the studio. And we're back to the original poster, and that's the timetable, of course. So I better get on to the subject matter after all that. And just the other day I had a conversation with a guy who's calls himself a galactic emissary, right? And what he says is, as Source is currently dictating to me how a universe came into being and the story of sacred geometry as the mapping of conscious expansion. Yeah, we had a sacred geometry session when he joined in. Nothing will happen on 21st December 2020, in a couple of days' time, as human consciousness is a minuscule contribution compared to the rest of the consciousness that makes up Gaia. All it will do is expose people's attachments to rainbows. Like don't go chasing waterfalls, unrealistic dreams. And so I asked the question, well, why bother with the Uluru visit? It's chasing rainbows, isn't it? But anyway, they're going to have a great gathering there, I'm sure of it. And he says all solar systems in the entire universe are at least binary systems. And he's referring to perhaps Nibiru. Ours is no different. Nibiru is real and is referred to extensively in ancient Egypt. That's shown in the Marshall books. It's not about fearing Nibiru, it is about understanding its purpose and relationship with our sun and earth. The cover hoax has and is serving its purpose of exposing that human consciousness is easily influenced and rooted in fear. Now, we've already had a bit of an online debate with Zachary and Graham and maybe a couple of others about is Nibiru a product of wild imagination? And that's not my belief. What I suggested is we bring the effects of Nibiru into manifestation by belief and imagination. Therefore, I'm careful not to believe anything. I neither believe or disbelieve. And there's a quote, belief is the end of questioning. Belief is intellectual bankruptcy and is the exact opposite of knowledge. You will never question if you believe. It comes from surety for idiots. Going further with beliefs, thoughts create reality. We've all heard of that before. If you create something you don't like, don't give it a second thought. Right? Because as soon as you start thinking about it, you're actually bringing it into manifestation. But there's no need to be negligent either. In other words, if you see disharmony around you, you may need to acknowledge it in order to change it. And only when you say, I did this, can you find the power to change it, according to the metaphysics that we work with. It also says the world is the way it is because of you and the choices you have made or failed to make. And a little bit further, all you love or detest at some deep level you create, and having created it, you've chosen it. And the idea behind that message is to tell us to take personal responsibility for what's out there. Right? We tend to use blame in our lives and say, well, that's not my fault, somebody else did that. But what about the idea that we're all connected together? Right? If you start putting the blame out there, you're actually blaming yourself, because you and the other are one. But that's a very deep concept as well. I'm skipping a lot of this. what it suggests is if you want guarantees in life, you don't want life. Life is an adventure. The Earth is an action planet which rewards physical exertion. That's according to the Journey of Souls, one of the books, one of the main books we work with. And back to Nibiru. This is a quote from the Ringing Cedars Anastasia books, and it says, "If a single individual wanted a second sun to flare up in the sky, it would not appear. Things are arranged this way so that planetary catastrophes do not happen. But if everybody together wanted a second sun, it would appear. Weather, magnetic storms, high and low pressure, these are all subject to will and conscious awareness." Right? So the implication there is if one or two people have these thoughts about catastrophe, it won't happen. It's not powerful enough consciousness. But if a large collective starts focusing in a negative way, they'll bring about those negative effects. Right? So even the weather itself is affected by collective consciousness. Right? I won't be able to go into that sort of detail right now. So going a bit further with beliefs, what you resist persists. What you fear most, you attract. Right? So put your beliefs aside, because if you're starting to fear what you might be believing, and don't forget that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real, okay, then you're going to attract it. Right? So that's the power we have. We are creators, and the emotion of fear is a very powerful way to create, and it's not recommended. Okay. Fear paralyzes, whereas caution mobilizes. So if you feel like you need to do something about a situation to avoid a catastrophe, do it with caution, not fear. In other words, take the action that you need to. Right? Another short little quote is, "Worry is a prayer for what you don't want." Right? So if you worry about something, you're going to bring it on again. Right? And then following that, I've got a quote from White Eagle, one of the metaphysical teachers. This is from the 1990s. And what he says is, "Catch yourself when you worry. Worry is merely a call for action. As soon as you have a worry or a concern, immediately act. What is the action, and do the action, whether it is a physical act or a change of frequency, vibration." That seems to be pretty good advice, I think. If you have a worry, don't stay with a worry, do something about it. Right? It's a call to action. And then we're getting into decision making, which is kind of the crux of what I'm supposed to be covering. The mind, this is how to reach decisions using the mind or some other facility. The mind's role is to learn and analyse. The heart's role is to choose and do. Hearts connect while minds separate. Right? So the mind element is all about separation. Okay? And you can stay in that paradigm if you wish. The heart's role is to acknowledge unity of purpose, unity of ourselves with everything else, and then you start seeing extensions of yourself. And why would you want to damage another? Because you're only damaging yourself. Right? It's something that we need to wake up to as a species, as far as I'm concerned. That's from the Telos information, and it also says the mind is a house of questions and the heart is a library of answers. In other words, the mind is very limited in what it can produce to make decisions. But if you look into the heart, which is a portal to infinite wisdom, the collective mind, you could say, it's a library of answers and it's vast in comparison. It suggests love your questions and cherish the answers the heart provides with each question. Now, something that comes out of the shaman and sorcerer stuff that we work with over the years, magical passes, the Castaneda works, if anybody's familiar with those, is the point of reason, which is mind-based, versus silent knowledge, which is heart-based. The point of reason is where the species is right now. We have to figure things out intellectually to know what to do or where to go and so forth. And we've been doing that for several thousand years, apparently. But we used to be in a point of silent knowledge. And it is what it said. Silent knowledge is intuitive. Right? You don't have to intellectually figure out things because you go within and that's where the answers are. And we think that's where we're going to be headed. If we can stay on track with this awakening, we'll be going down the track of silent knowledge. And that could include telepathy. You won't need your devices anymore, wherever they are. That's only a 3G. And so you won't need to stream either. There you go. What the shaman sorcerer stuff recommends is there is a question that a warrior has to ask. Does this path have a heart? You know, if you're looking at different directions to go, examine each one of them and examine whether each one of those paths has a heart that you can follow. Because if it doesn't have a heart, you probably don't want to go down there. It suggests all paths are the same. They lead nowhere. But if you choose a path without a heart, it is never enjoyable. You know, it doesn't matter the level of difficulty. It can look really difficult, but if you choose the right path with the heart, you'll find it easy going, according to the information. All right. On the other hand, a path with a heart is easy. It does not make a warrior work at liking it. As long as a man follows a path with the heart, he is at one with it. If I go on to some of the communion with God information, it's related to the conversation with God material. It tells us your life is a magic trick and you are the magician. Right? So the very fact that we're here is a magic trick. Right? And it's actually a trick based on conscious collective creation. Right? So it takes a collective agreement of minds in order to manifest this reality. Right? One individual can't do it. But the reason why if we look out the tree, we'll see the same tree, only because our minds are collectively agreeing that there is a tree out there. That might be a difficult concept for some people. And then if I go back to the shaman sorcerer information, it says, our magical world has nothing to do with chants and incantations, with rituals and bizarre behaviour. Our magical world, which is a dream, is willed into being by the concentrated desire of of those who participated in it. It is held intact at every moment by the sorcerer's tenacious wills, the same way the everyday world is held together by everybody's tenacious will. There's more in between on that paragraph, but then it goes on to say that the price of freedom is very high. Right? We all want to be free, don't we? But it explains that the price of freedom is high. Freedom can only be attained by dreaming without hope, by being willing to lose all, even the dream. For some of us, to dream without hope, to struggle with no goal in mind, is the only way to keep up with the bird of freedom. And from the same material, probably about 20 years ago, I came across this little one-liner, and I can honestly say it scared the shit out of me because I knew it was my path. And what it is, if you have nothing to die for, you have nothing to live for. And when I read that, I thought, oh, damn, I know what it's talking about. Okay, so sometimes you've got to take risks. Otherwise, you're not living your true experience of your life. You know, we've chosen to be here, and part of the journey is to face challenges and adversity, because that's how we evolve. That's how we grow. And then I've got a paragraph which comes from this particular book, Conversation with God, book number 1, published 1995. It's some of the most powerful material we've ever come across. And I'll just read what I have to say in this one little paragraph. Do you want your life to truly take off? Then change your idea about it, about you. Think, speak, and act as the God you are. Of course, this will separate you from most of your fellow men. They will call you crazy. They will say you blaspheme. They will eventually have enough of you, and they will attempt to crucify you. They will do this not because they think you are living in a world of your own illusions, but because sooner or later others will become attracted to your truth, for the promises it holds for them. Here is where your fellow men will interfere, for here is where you will begin to threaten them. For your simple truth, simply lived, will offer more beauty, more comfort, more peace, more joy, and more love of self and others than anything that your earthly fellows could contrive. I think we're talking about religions there. And that truth adopted would mean the end of their ways. It would mean the end of hatred and fear and bigotry and war. The end of the condemning and killing that has gone on in my name. This is God talking, by the way. Although it does say, don't believe a word that you're hearing, check it out for yourself. So, however you want to take it. The end of might is right. The end of purchase through power. The end of loyalty and homage through fear. The end of the world as they know it, and as you have created it thus far. So be ready, kind soul, for you will be vilified and spat upon, called names and deserted, and finally they will accuse you, try you and condemn you, all in their own ways, from the moment you accept and adopt your holy cause, the realisation of self. Why, then, do it? Because you are no longer concerned with the acceptance or approval of the world. You are no longer satisfied with what that has brought you. You are no longer pleased with what it has given others. You want the pain to stop, the suffering to stop, the illusion to end. You have had enough of this world as it presently is. You seek a newer world. Seek it no longer. Now call it forth. Right, so I've got some of these for sale actually. We ran study groups on this 20 years ago and more recently as well. Very powerful material. So I'm probably just a touch over my half an hour. Right? So I'm going to leave the rest of it. I've given you some ideas on decision making coming from the heart instead of the head, perhaps, and being in harmony with those decisions. There is a lot more, but that's okay. Maybe I'll leave that for another presentation. If I go back to Nibiru, I'd say send love to Nibiru, whatever it is going to be. If it is to appear based on collective desire, send love to Nibiru if it is to appear based on collective desire. That is often fearful. I would therefore be in harmony with whatever effects it may produce, and whether it simply sails by, as it may do every 3,600 years, or whatever it is, and would be inspired or guided to whatever joyful action with gratitude. Nibiru could be a catalyst for mankind to change, just like lockup might be doing. Right? So if you go to the clinical, the therapist stuff, he's telling us from his clients, they've told him through superconsciousness that the lockup was actually part of the spirit world plan as well, because people are starting to wake up. A year ago, a lot of them were still, the vast majority were still asleep, and now they're saying, oh, there's something wrong. Anyway, so the suggested 3-hour presentation that Zachary has suggested would be welcomed and not feared. Like attracts like, after all. So I hope that's helpful, and either way, and I think we need to switch over to you.
George.
Thank you. So we're running my computer with your presentation?
Yeah, so
okay.
Can you get that
I'll bring it up.
on
Stop the share. Did you hear all that, Graham?
I heard it perfectly. Well done, George. And I took a few notes.
Sorry? Oh, you made some notes.
I made some notes.
Okay.
I wasn't marking you out of 10.
Give me a minus or two.
No, that's good information.
So here it comes. So do you want to sit here?
Yeah, I suppose, okay,
Yeah.
can we go up to view at the top toolbar, view, and then slideshow, third one, yeah. There we go.
Okay. Do you want to sit here? And I've got the
suppose so.
Zoom one from
The old
here.
camera, yeah.
I also got the camera here.
That's my 15 minutes off, 3 hours.
Okay. And
Coming up.
if you want, I'll remote control the slides.
Oh, okay, well, I also have this, so
Oh, yeah,
let's
okay,
just see,
yeah.
let me just see if it
In
works.
my case, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Okay, well,
Excellent. So we've got the professionals at work now. So thank you.
thanks, George. Yes. Well, friends, we are going to